You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello and welcome to Orange County's longest running business talk show. I am your host, Rick Franzi, and I never get tired of that music that we play as the intro. Thank you, Haley, for that. We have a great show planned for you. Why do you say? Because Anton Komarow is my guest. Anton, welcome to the program.
Hey everyone. Thank you very much for having me, and I'm excited to be here with you today and talk more.
Yeah, Anton's the founder and CEO of his latest venture, B2Storefront, and let's get right into it. As a serial entrepreneur, Anton, what was the motivation, inspiration, or maybe what the heck were you thinking about when you launched B2Storefront?
So main idea around was to bring speed and speed in two meanings: the speed of loading time to e-commerce and a speed of implementing new features. So basically speed as a direct impact on conversion rates. It's the one thing. The second thing is how fast businesses can iterate through their experiments, and implementing new features is another type of speed that also have an impact on overall success. And we currently see that this issue is not addressed properly by existing platforms. While it's not a problem of a platform itself, it is something that should be solved on the architectural level using composable commerce concept, and that's why we built this middleware.
So since you've launched B2Storefront, I'm wondering, have you had any business model pivots or adjustments to what the original vision was for the company?
Oh yeah, so there is a multiple pivots down the road was taken just because this company is founded by tech people. So essentially me and my co-founder, Matt Mortek, he is the CTO of B2Storefront. We basically developers ourselves. So we are evolving on reading the customer's expectations, and we switched from having a product that was purely for other developers to a product that is addressing directly merchants and help them to launch and operate a smaller amount of features, but actually more automated way without involving development help.
Realizing that was a better market address than what you originally thought.
Yeah, so essentially the reasoning behind is that every platform advertises itself as like you can run your online store without developers using Shopify, using X. So it is a specific messaging that is being propagated by really well-funded companies, and going against it costs obviously a lot. So we just decided not to be against it, but actually help bring the proper structure, the proper scaffolding, if you will, and allow people to either use it right away or actually get some help from their in-house or freelance developers as well.
Help. Well, tell me a little bit more about the company. Who would reach out to you, and who's a good client for you?
So our clients are the e-commerce merchants who does have ad spend. So this is somebody who is spending at least $3,000 a month on paid acquisition, or they already have traffic that is comparable to $3,000 a month ad spend, which basically comes down to covering the cost of the operating the software to actual improvement in conversions they can expect. So essentially, if you don't have conversions at all, or if you don't have much traffic, there is not much money to justify the spend. So from that perspective, this is a universal qualification. On the other hand, we also work with merchants who looking to automate their operations, who looking to use their storefronts as their internal tool, for example, for request for quote type of implementations, where they can use their internal team who is doing quoting in the CRM to use their storefront to streamline the operations. Then they see a different type of return on investment, essentially.
Exclusively working with clients in the US? Are you international? Tell us a little bit about that aspect of your business.
Yeah, so my initial idea was to be hyper local. I brought it from Poland, where we started our first web development company in Krakow, which is south of Poland. And we basically being penetrating the market locally. So everyone either worked with us or was waiting to afford working with us. So we started with California, but currently we do have clients also in New Zealand. And in general, we span across the continents for UK and Europe-based brands who use Shopify, because Shopify is not as much popular in Europe, but they are growing there very nicely, and they really shifted their marketing focus to make that market for them.
So how do you find prospects, or maybe how do prospects find you?
Oh, I wish prospects finding us, and it is a big ongoing pain on figuring out the Google ads and figuring out SEO, and it is a difficult thing in general. So currently, we are getting clients through referrals from our existing merchants, because surprisingly, the e-commerce ecosystem and e-commerce community is very, very tight. So there is a bunch of groups and everyone knows everyone else. So this way it helps to do a good job. But on top of it, it's basically trade shows and presence on events like this, and obviously LinkedIn outreach and stuff like that.
That's one of the powers, Anton, of being in a specific niche, is the referability of you to others who are in that space as well. I applaud you and your partners for identifying and staying true to a niche, because it does help, I have found, for companies, especially early stage companies, to get the momentum required to scale the platform.
Exactly, yeah. And also specializing in a specific platform as well, because before we were like giving access to any platform, but that was difficult, and maintaining features also.
Yeah, that can be in the next version, or as the company scales. You got to build a beachhead, ladies and gentlemen, as an entrepreneur that you can defend and then grow from. I'm wondering, as you look around your industry, have you ever, in running and growing the business, have you ever felt alone or maybe isolated as the founder and CEO of your firm?
Honestly, it's in my perspective related heavily to the overtime hours. So essentially, you just do a lot of hours, and to be completely honest, you can be alone as well as an employee, or a employee number one, employee number two, and early stage startups as well. So essentially, it depends on how much you are dedicated to what you're doing. But support from the family is one of the important things, so they would not get off the board when they tired of like waiting for you from the work. But all in all, still the work-life balance is important, just to not completely skip the age of your kids. So like when they're young, they will remember your absence. So essentially, this is one of the things that I separate. So like there is a being busy before the kids and being busy after the kids. So being busy after the kids is painful twice. So that's the only thing.
Yeah, that can make for a long day. And young children take a lot of energy and focus. And so we only have so much energy sometimes to give it to the business and the family. You know, you said you started in Krakow, Poland, and now you're here in Southern California, Orange County in particular. How did that happen, Anton?
So essentially, I was came to study to Krakow, and I was born in Kazakhstan. But after 15 years being in Poland, I was took part in a program. It's like a startup program. It's called Silicon Bridge, where promising IT companies from Poland can try their skills and can try their luck in Silicon Valley. That's how I came to San Francisco. And I spent there months. It was the coldest months of my life, and even comparing to Krakow. And essentially, very quickly evacuated myself to Los Angeles and stay there since 2015.
Well, you've made a good succession of decisions relative to where you're living. You're now living in the garden spot. I'm wondering, have you ever been given a piece of business advice that you found particularly valuable that you would like to share with our audience here today on Critical Mass Business Talk Show?
Yes, actually, and it was coming in a conversation, and one of the friends of mine mentioned that you're supposed to spend time inside your clients' places of presence. I know it sounds like being repeated 20,000 times already, that you need to know your client and so on and so forth. But I used to spend my time with other developers, with other technical entrepreneurs or founders who are running their dev shops and stuff like that. And the moment I just read it, I was like, stop spending time there and switch to spending time where the pain and frustration is being shared on the groups. So essentially, going into Facebook groups of your clients is one of the things that I like the most, and actually digging the client language. This is the most important part. Speak the exact words. And English is not my native language, so I'm literally pulling myself a vocabulary of like how they name things. I would never come up with naming that way. And everyone have its own slang. So like they basically use specific jargon, and I'm using the same. And that's what I'm think it's important.
Well, that's really interesting. That's kind of like an advanced customer listening program where you're actually engaging and listening to them on different chat areas, etc. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that piece of advice. Thank you for sharing that. Artificial intelligence has been in the news a lot this year, and I'm wondering, from your perspective, being a technologist, building a platform, how do you see AI potentially infiltrating or impacting your business?
So I'm a heavy user of ChatGPT myself, and this tool is best in hands of people who knows how to ask questions and which questions to ask. And there is a ton of content, and everyone is on this hype wave of like AI this, AI that. It is definitely a big improvement. It is definitely will impact amount of hours worked by people who main responsibility was go check the spreadsheet and respond in a human friendly way. But my understanding is that right now the barriers that being present before are fallen. The next stage is that if somebody was prevented from starting their online store, they are not as much as they were 10 years ago. With AI, they are not as much backwards on advertising, because advertising was also holding back the evolution. So if we're talking about e-commerce niche, we're going into the place where cost of advertising will skyrocket simply because the amount of players who will start advertising will increase. And it is also valid for myself, because what's happening is I cannot draw pictures. Right now, Midjourney is producing astonishing stuff that is going right away as a banner or a Facebook ad. So I am contributing to the Facebook money by putting ads there. And a lot of people who cannot afford agencies, who cannot afford somebody to put together an ad, they now basically enter the game, which will inflate the cost of click and cost of acquisition. So that's my perspective on AI inside this, let's say, e-commerce and customer acquisition angle.
Very interesting perspective. Thank you for sharing that. I kind of, I can see how that creates more competition, frankly, which then drives up the rates because it's supply and demand. Interesting. Thank you, Anton. Let's talk about the future.
Yeah.
Where will your firm and you be in a couple years, 5 years, 10? What's your vision long term for what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so our long-term vision is giving ability to companies create quickly specific UX and specific UI, new pages and stuff like that. So currently, with additional tools that quickly convert Figma designs or Sketch or any other designs into HTML, we can see that we not necessarily need no-code platforms because the coding is not the problem anymore. The development is not the problem anymore. We just need the platforms that would accelerate innovation and accelerate publishing to production, essentially. And from that perspective, each specific tool is absorbing its own niche and excel in that niche. Therefore, there is no way somebody will cover 80% or 60% of the needs. That way means we are going into composable era where we'll be combining multiple tools to be presented in front of a user in the browser or in any other type of channel, which means that we're still innovating underneath, but on top of it, it's all HTML. It's all code that is rendered by the browser. And it doesn't matter if it's a big infrastructure behind multiple tools, but still HTML is something that is an output language. So our goal is to be able to deliver high performance, optimized HTML for platforms that deliver e-commerce experiences to customers in the US.
E-commerce, it is, when you talk about the interface and the UX and UI, I mean, it really is an art now based on people's experience with online shopping, Shopify, that experience. The buyers become in my mind, very mature as far as what they expect from the site and from the vendor. Is that your understanding as well? Is that your experience?
Yeah, so e-commerce have multiple types of important points. One thing is it's very, very analytically covered with all events and stuff like that. It's all possible to count. It's all possible to measure. You can see literally dollars based on decisions. So the yellow button drives more conversions than red button and so on and so forth. And e-commerce is a heavily ad business. It's ad dollars business, which means that you're basically spending X to see specific return on ad spend coefficient. So that's why this niche is evolving and forced to evolve faster than others. And on top of it, it's also very templated. So you have templates because people have their own behavior and they get used to specific patterns. So if they don't see the right pattern, they will close the tab and proceed further. So that makes it, on one side, very, very pattern heavy. On the other side, everyone tries and actually put effort to be unique and to be, personalized experience and stuff like that. So that's like two sides of a spectrum.
If someone would like to pick your brain, get to know you, find you online, where would you suggest they go, Anton?
I'm actually active on LinkedIn. So on my profile, you can find a link to my newsletter where I'm publishing once a month something that I'm digging personally. It's basically my notes from research. So one of the things I was digging is like how the proper blog post structure should look like. Another one was about hiring front-end developers. So it is very, very different, but it's all dependent on my task list at the moment. So that's basically how it can be consumed once a month. It's a flow of consciousness of mine about a specific topic. Other than that, I'm active on LinkedIn, so please reach out in DMs, and I'm happy to talk. And I'm happy to talk here in person in Orange County and contribute to in-person live events around e-commerce and meetups as well.
I think that would be time well spent, and I encourage people to take Anton up on the opportunity to spend some time and learn and share experiences. I want to thank you for being a guest here on the program today and giving a little bit of your knowledge and expertise to the benefit of my audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. I was really enjoying talking to you. And
well, I'd like to thank the audience too. You've been a part of Orange County's longest running business talk show. Anton's interview is part of our growing catalog of over 1,400 interviews that you'll find when you go to our podcasting site. If you happen to be a peer Orange County entrepreneur and you have a story to tell and you'd like to share that here on Orange County's longest running business talk show, then reach out to us. I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I, on LinkedIn. Coincidentally, that's also my website, rickfranzi.com. Be happy to talk with you and work with Haley to get you scheduled like we did for Anton today. So until the next time we have a chance to be together, which will be tomorrow, actually, here's hoping that all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.